Welcome to Rapid Retro Reviews, where we go back in the day and play some old school bangers and failures. We are going back to where it all began with the games that started a revolution, games that would go on to become one of the highest grossing media franchises of all time. We're headed to the Kanto region to become the very best that no one ever was with Pokémon Red, Blue, and Yellow. Pokémon Red and Blue were developed by Game Freak and released for the Game Boy in North America in 1998. Pokémon Yellow version was released a year later in 1999 and is basically the same game with a few minor differences, such as Pikachu being your starter and following you around throughout the whole game. First and foremost, we have a few important decisions to make before we start. Which version to play, Red, Blue, or Yellow? Yellow is cool and all, but I really don't want to start with Pikachu this time. The main difference between Red and Blue version is that Ekans, Oddish, Mankey, Growlithe, Scyther, and Electabuzz are exclusive to Red, while Sandshrew, Vulpix, Meowth, Bellsprout, Magmar, and Pinsir are exclusive to Blue. Let's go with Red this time. The main protagonist is named Red in the canon, but we can choose any name we want. Now comes another important decision of our playthrough, what to name our rival. His name in official canon is Blue, but you can pick anything you want and there are no restrictions. Now on to the next major decision, who to pick as our starter, Bulbasaur, Charmander, or Squirtle. Let's go with Charmander this time, even though Bulbasaur is my personal favorite. After choosing our starter, our douche rival immediately challenges us to a Pokémon battle and we are introduced to the turn-based combat gameplay. He of course picks the starter that your starter would be weak against. After defeating or losing to your rival, the journey begins. Now, if you've been unfortunate enough to never play a Pokémon game before, then to summarize, the objective is to catch Pokémon and level them up through battling to make them more powerful and potentially evolve them into stronger Pokémon with the goal of defeating the 8 gym leaders of the Kanto region so you can enter the Pokémon League and become the Pokémon League champion, as well as catching all 151 Pokémon in order to complete the Pokédex for Professor Oak, as it is his lifelong dream and he is too old to do it himself now. There are loads of fun to be had with this game from start to finish. As you progress, you'll come across a ton of cool Pokémon to capture and add to your team. One of the best parts of the game is deciding who to use on your team of 6. Some will stick around from the very beginning and others will be stored away and replaced if they aren't the best asset to your team. Ultimately, my team ended up being Charizard, Wigglytuff, Zapdos, Gyarados, Vileplume, and Mr. Mime, but there are so many to choose from you can use a different team every time you play through the game. The gym leaders are the bosses of the game, each specializing in a certain Pokémon type, and it's always fun putting your team up to a challenging battle. You'll also run into your rival multiple times as you progress across the game, and he never fails to be a douche. Once all of the gym leaders are defeated, it's time to face the Elite Four of the Pokémon League. Once you get past them, it's on to the League Champion. Surprise, it's your rival. Now it's time to shut this douche up once and for all. The final battle against Blue is pretty epic and the most difficult in the entire game. Give it all you got and dethrone him to become the League Champion. After becoming the Pokémon League champion, you're granted access to the Cerulean Cave. The cave is full of many high-level Pokémon and is very confusing to navigate through. You'll eventually make your way to the end of the cave where you get to fight and catch the legendary Mewtwo. You can throw a Master Ball for a quick and easy catch, or you can take on the challenge of capturing him with Ultra Balls. Capturing Mewtwo with an Ultra Ball is no easy task, as he is very strong and can take out your team pretty fast if you go in unprepared. He will also continually use Recover, so you will need to constantly lower his HP, but if you do too much damage, he will faint. Now, as awesome as this game is, it is the first in the franchise, and being so, it's full of a bunch of bugs, glitches, and straight up broken mechanics. There's the famous missing no glitch, of course, and the glitch to catch Mew, which I fucked up on this run, but there are also so many random ass glitches, like being able to use an escape rope to exit the Pokemon fan club, or fishing in the gym statues. Some moves literally just do not work for whatever reason, like the move Focus Energy is supposed to quadruple the chance of getting a critical hit, but instead it cuts the chance of getting a critical hit by 4. Psychic was supposed to be weak to both Ghost and Bug, but is only weak to Bug. When a status attack misses, such as Sleep Powder or Sing, it will say it didn't affect, which is not to be confused with it doesn't affect, which means the attack type doesn't affect the Pokemon. I definitely can't see this being confusing for a 5-year-old who can barely read back in 1998. The AI is extremely dumb in this generation. There were so many instances where I was at low HP and instead of finishing off my Pokemon, the trainer would use a move like Growl or Tail Whip instead, pretty much just handing me the win. Thanks, I guess. A lot of common features in modern Pokemon games are not present in Gen 1. Running wasn't invented yet, special attack and special defense are combined into one special stat, there are no hold items, Pokemon abilities, natures, genders, breeding, or shinies. There's no move deleter, so once you teach an HM, they have that move forever. Dark, Steel, and Fairy types do not exist yet either. The game is pretty bare bones compared to the more complex modern Pokemon games, but it honestly plays just fine this way and doesn't take away from the fun at all. Now, one thing that I thought was pretty stupid is that some Pokemon can only be obtained via trades with NPCs, such as Mr. Mime, Jinx, and Farfetch'd. On top of that, they have some of the worst nicknames imaginable, like Marcel. The only Mr. Mime in the entire game is named Marcel. That's like naming my Charmander Charlie, or my Wigglytuff Wendy. Who the fuck gives a Pokemon a human name? On the bright side, Marcel was an absolute beast and probably the best Pokemon on my team. Thanks, Marcel. My rating of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow is a 10 out of 10 with a nasty seal of approval. I was skeptical going back to the original games, and they honestly hold up perfectly fine to this day. There may be some goofy glitches and broken game mechanics, but I would say it had little to no effect on my playthrough at all. In fact, the absence of a lot of modern aspects of Pokemon in these OG games was refreshing. It's just straight up old school Pokemon. And the series is still going strong to this day. Yes, it's had its ups and downs, but look how many experiences and memories this series has created for so many of us. I remember needing to ask my brother to help me read in Pokemon Yellow, getting Ruby as a gift from my grandpa, discussing how to catch Rayquaza with friends over recess, stealing a Tyranitar card from my friend and getting in trouble with my parents, sorry Brett, and playing drinking games to the Pokemon Stadium minigames in college. For so many of us, we could list off so many memories, none of which we would ever have had if it wasn't for Red, Blue, and Yellow. Thanks for watching this episode of Rapid Retro Reviews. If you enjoyed, please be sure to drop a like and hit that subscribe button to join the Nasty Nation. I'll see you guys on the next one.